What is going on, everyone? I am Dane Peterson, and I am here to give you some free and basic real estate research tips using your local property appraiser website. So right now we're standing right outside of my local property appraiser building. But the great thing is that nowadays you can access most, if not all, of this information right from the internet. But first things first, what is the property appraiser and what is it that they do? To keep it simple, they're your local authority that assigns and determines values for your tangible property based on improvements and your property's characteristics. Those values are then used to calculate property taxes. As a landlord, rehabber, and realtor, I use these websites daily because of the amount of public information that you can get from them. And that's exactly what I plan to show you. So if you get any value from this video, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button down below. Now let's jump online and show you exactly how easy this information is to get.
All right, so let's hop right into it. Today we will be covering Orange County, Florida, which is a pretty large county here in Central Florida. Most people, when they think of this area, you're gonna be thinking of Disney World. We're talking about the Orlando area. Orange County, and what I like to do, if you are unfamiliar with an area that you're needing to do some research on, or maybe you are familiar with it, I like to go to the Wikipedia page to start when I'm trying to get familiar with the local community, cities, towns, that sort of thing. Just get to know the area a little bit, as you should when you're researching properties. But let's just say you need to hop right into it. The main section I'm going to go to when I'm staring at the Wikipedia page is right here, communities. And pretty much every county you go to has this section labeled. So I'm going to click into communities. It brings us right down here into this area, and you can see all these cities listed here. And the reason that this is important is because as we get a little further in this video, you're going to notice that when we go to do, say for instance, a permit search, sometimes there's going to be different county offices or government offices within these cities that handle those permitting records, code violation records, for instance. When we're talking about the county as a whole, so everything, so these are all part of Orange County, all of those properties will show up on a single property appraiser site, which is the main focus of our video today, and a primary tax collector site. But when you get into the other things we look at, like your permitting and code violations that I just mentioned, those, if you're having trouble finding them on a certain site, you need to try going to Google and maybe looking up, say, Winter Park Permitting Department, Lake Buena Vista Permitting Department. So if you're having trouble finding some permits, well, either one, they just didn't have any permits pulled, or two, you're just looking in the wrong area. But let's hop back into what the primary focus is, and that's how to just do your basic searching for a property. So that's what I do with Wikipedia. We're going to close that out because we don't need that anymore. And what you're looking at right here is also something that you don't really need to see, but I'm just going to show you because this is the property that I have chosen to use as our example today. I can see this property. I am part of the Stellar MLS. MLS stands for Multiple Listing Service. It is because I am a licensed real estate agent in the state of Florida. I am here in the Sarasota, Florida, Tampa market area, and our MLS actually expands quite a ways over into the middle of the state. Let's just say you're on Zillow and you don't have access to the MLS. Well, whether you're looking here at this screen, an MLS site, or Zillow, or a Redfin, whatever it is you're using to look at the property, you want to make sure that this information is accurate. And how do you know your information is accurate? Well, it's by going to the property appraiser site. So what we'll do here is, if you check the description, I like to put as many links as I can down there for you without making it too clustered. I will make sure that I have the property appraiser link, tax collector link, and all the ones we're just covering today, I'll make sure they're down below. So make sure you check that out. And at the same time, hit that subscribe button. All right, so back to it. So this 122 North Mills Avenue, Orlando, Florida. The reason I chose this property is, if I click on map real quick just to show you where it's located, I wanted to find a single family home. I didn't want to find a condo building, something that's going to maybe be in a high rise in the downtown area, but I wanted to find something close to the city of downtown Orlando that would pop up on the Orlando permitting site. So I ended up choosing this house right here so you can see where it's located, kind of right there in central Orlando. I'm going to close this map out, but this is the address we're going to focus on. This is all just basic information on the property, but disregard that. We're going to go pull up the actual information that we know is recorded through the county. This was, again, so I could identify a property for us. And at the same time, if you're a realtor or you're considering being a realtor, this is what it would look like for our stellar MLS. So let's hop right over here into the Orange County Property Appraiser site. Again, the link will be down below. They have a nice website. I have already taken the time to do some browsing here. I don't look at a lot of properties in Orange counties. We're doing this together here, folks. It's to show you just how simple this can be and how much information you can gain from doing this. So always just take a quick browse over that first page. Most important thing, of course, is the property search. That's what we are here for. So we're going to click on that. It actually just changes this page right here. And you can see that we have a couple different ways that we can search for a property. So you have simple and multi. Multi is going to be when you have multiple units in a building and you're going to need to specify that number. That's when you're going to want to click on multi. If you click right here, it's just showing you multi. Enter at least the street name, searching using pieces of the address, number, direction, name. Simple, enter an address, 3 characters minimum. Example. We're going to close that out. We're just going to go over to simple. And this is under quick searches that we're doing this. They do have an advanced search where you can see you can search by count numbers, zip codes, which is going to give you more broader search results right here. Once we actually do this, our property card. So let's get right into it. So let's put in our 122. And this is what I like. I love property appraiser sites that start to autofill addresses as you type them out. That can be very, very helpful, especially in bigger towns. It can also help you if maybe there was a typo. Maybe somebody input an extra number here or there in the address. This is a good way just to quickly figure it out. At the same time, we know right here, here's that 122 North Mills without me even fully typing it in. It starts to pop up. And from here, we can just hit search and it's going to bring us right over into the record. So here it goes right here, 122 North Mills right here on the tab at the top. You can see it's got the parcel number, which is always an important number. That can be used to search on other sites like your tax collector site. Right here, it's bringing us what this is calling the property card. And I use that term a lot. I call these the property record cards. That's what they're usually called. And that's what I like to save in my file for a property when I do have a file for that property. Or maybe I'm going to just go look at this property. I don't have access to the MLS or anything. This is what I'd want to print. I would want to print this page. What's really neat about their print is you can actually select what you do and don't want on your printout, but you can do that. Then you can always hit print. Remember, you don't always have to actually print something. You can just save it as a PDF file. So normally what you would do is on your print, you would do your destination or printer, whatever you want to call it, drop it down and save it as a PDF file, or you can just print it right out, whatever you want to do. So let's hop back into it. So what I'm going to do before we dive too much further into this, I'm going to show you 2 other ways you can be doing searches. So we're going to go back, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to take the name here. So we have Carol L. McCrea Trust. So this is a trust. My guess is that's why her name is spelled out first and last. Most property appraiser sites will have the last name, then the first name. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy her last name. All right, so there's an A at the end. We're going to go back here to quick searches. And you can see it's still here under property card until we find a new property. But if you wanted to search by an owner's name, usually you start to type it out, last name, then first name. So I'm just going to paste this right here. We knew there was an A. And look at this. It's doing the exact same thing that your property address did. And the reason this is important, maybe you don't have the address. Maybe you just know a person. Maybe you just met a person. You were talking about a property they want to sell. You forgot to get the exact address from them. Maybe you lost it. You can search by name. And her first name was Carol. It was Carol or Carmen? Can't remember now. Carmen. Here we go. Let's hit search, see what pops up. Nope, wrong person. You can see it brought us right over into Woodtree. But this is something that I really, really like about what Orange County does on their property appraiser site. Look up here. You see these little tabs? So what it's doing is it's saving the tabs up top until we close them out for the property we were looking at. Like, isn't that neat? It's holding these. That way, if I got a couple loaded up, I don't have to have a whole bunch of different web browsers loaded. I can have it all on their one site. So to me, that's really neat. So it didn't find the right person. This was a Carmen Macrea. This one, it's because of the way the name is spelled and being in the trust. So we would actually have to search for this person, first name, last. And I think that's important to see how there is that little discrepancy. We're going to close this out, go back to quick search. I think it's important to show that because it's just showing you that there are nuances to these sites sometimes, and you just try a couple different formats. And that's something you will learn the more you do this, that when you go and search a name, you need to try it first with that last name, then first, and then go first, then last name, because you can see for a trust, it shows up different. When I paste in the Carol L. Macrea, you can see it comes up with these two results. I want to click on this one because the other one just said trust. I want to see. So look at this. It actually took us to another property that Carol owns. And I'm going to assume this is the exact same Carol. It's a Carol L. Macrea. Just the other one didn't have revocable. It was just trust. So if we go back to quick search, let's take that out. You can see there's the trust. We're going to hit search. And there we go. We've got Carol, both of Carol's properties. So maybe you just met some investor at a real estate meetup group. You want to see what kind of portfolio they have. They didn't really get into it. They were, they just blew it off. Oh, I got a couple rental properties. Well, maybe you want to see where those rental properties are, what it is they've invested in exactly. Searching by an owner name, whether that's an LLC or their personal name, is a good way to find multiple records. So that is one other thing I'm going to do. So we're going to come back here. Owner name. We're going to ignore the trust and all that. We're going to actually just hit search. And here you go. Now it's actually giving us options of which one we want to click into and load up. So there you go. That's how you can do that. That's really neat. So if we click back on property cards up here, here's all our records we just found. We're going to close this one out. That was a mistake. We have both of Carol's properties here. The one we wanted to focus on was 122 North Mills though. So we'll close this one out. But you can see this is how you get that good research in on a person or a property. What we saw was that the property we were just looking at that we just closed out was her primary address. For this property, you can see that she has a different mailing address than physical street address. So that means she's an absentee owner. Absentee owner is somebody that has a different physical from mailing address. Usually that is somebody that would be a target seller for somebody like myself who's an investor looking for opportunities. We don't know what the reason is for that different mailing address, but the assumption can be that it's not their primary residence all the time. Maybe it's a rental, maybe it's a vacation home. So let's keep going down through all this data. We'll go over these top buttons here after we scroll down and see what's on this very first page. So you can see that's just the basic information of the owner with address. Property use, single family property. Municipality is Orlando. View 2022 property record card. This is just another way to have a nice printout. So this is going to give us a lot of the same information we're going to be looking at and clicking around on. So if we click this, it's going to load up that PDF version that we already went into. So we can scroll down here and you can see historical value and tax benefits, which is the tab that's highlighted. They make this really easy to look at. So right here, these are the assessed value right here. This 257 is what's being used when calculating the taxes. You can see there's no exemptions on this property, which is pretty common when you have somebody that doesn't actually live at the address. Usually when you have somebody where it's their primary residence, we scroll down here, you can see there's a breakdown of the tax years and we can click into it and just see how those taxes have changed. There's our price right there, the millage rate. So you can see 4,300 in 2020, 4,321 and 4,815. So not too big of jumps. Orange County is doing it right. Definitely not what my market's like. We'll keep scrolling down here and that's all you got. So that's all the information. So up here, one of the more important items is going to be property features. This is what I'm here for. I'm here to get the deets on this house. So here we go. We're in Thornton Park. That's the subdivision most likely. It just says property description, but we can assume that that is the subdivision. This is also a legal description, probably the short version. They usually have a short and long version. So if you were writing up a contract, you could just throw this in there for the legal description. Total land area, it's giving us our square footage. It actually shows it as acres too. And you can see they usually have lots of different hyperlinks that you can use to click on, get some more information. If listed as GIS calculated, then the total land area is calculated auto-generated from digital maps. All right, good to know. There's another notice. We don't need to look at that right now. Here's the zoning, land use zoning, probably residential 2A. You'd want to look that up if there's something you're wanting to make as an improvement to a property. Maybe you're interested in tearing the house down and rebuilding. It's good to know what your zoning is. It is one lot. Working value, I don't know. That hasn't calculated. It's not showing that. And this is a pretty neat button right here. We'll get to that. So building. So we got building details right here. Important things are living square footage. You're going to have gross and living. Your living area is usually what is part of heated or air-conditioned space. Gross area can include your garages, maybe a porch, things like that. It's showing us it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. It's a 1-story house. Wallboard wood, interior walls. We can even just tell from the picture that this is a frame house. This is, property appraisers where you go to get that kind of information. Exterior wall, aluminum or vinyl siding. This more details right here is giving us a sketch of the property, and that's really neat. Actually hovering over it is just making it larger like that. Again, you could print this page. I always like to have a little sketch printout just so if I'm walking a property I can compare it and see if there's any changes, or maybe if some of the under air square footage is wrong. Maybe a porch area that they have actually is enclosed and has air going into it and could be added to the square footage of the house. But hey, little pro tip there, do that when you go to resell the house so your taxes don't get impacted while you're the owner. Just a little tip right there. Or if you're going to be moving into the house and you bought it and it has an incorrect bedroom bathroom count that's in your favor, no need to go get that updated. So you can see here, this building sub area. So this BAS, FEP, STP, these are the same acronyms that you're seeing right here on this sketch. So the BAS is usually your base, which is your main living area on most homes. That's 1304. Enclosed porch, 387. So that's it's one of these two. 9 by 20 would be 180. So both of these are enclosed. And then the stoop, which would probably be maybe the front porch, maybe it's on the back. We just don't know which way we're looking at this house right now from this. And then here's that same information that we had already saw down here, including the year built, which was here as well. Extra features, F-place, I'm going to assume that's fireplace. Shed, it's got the date built on those. So you can see the shed was added after the fact of when this house was built in 24. Come back up here to these tabs. We can see prior sales, which is always a neat thing to be able to look at. So we can go back and we can see 1971 is when this house first sold. And then after that, all the sales start to show 100. So this is the interesting thing. You can see that it looks like this lady has actually owned this home since 1971, because it looks like the last sale was to Carol and then she did some transfers. So when you see years like this, when you see sale amounts, usually that's when they're doing a name change. Maybe they're adding or removing somebody from the actual deed. So when you see sales amounts of only $100, that's why. And the reason for that is so you're not getting taxed on the sale as if it were a transaction that's happening, a real transfer. I mean, this is a real transfer, but it's not, if you know what I mean. This is just for titling purposes. What's neat is you can usually click into these and actually see a copy of the deed. So you continue to cite. Let's see if it shows us that for this one. Most of the property appraisers, that is what it's bringing up when you click on that. And sometimes you can find out if there's a mortgage on the property. If not, some good information can come from that if that's what you want to look at. But we're going to close that out. We don't need to focus on that right now. Market stats, all these property appraiser sites, people, are different. So sometimes you get a lot more information than others. I will say they keep theirs pretty clean, a lot of basic information. I like this market stats tab though. I think it's really neat when property appraiser sites are giving you aggregated data like a Zillow, where they're able to take all the information and give you averages and that sort of thing. And that's what we're seeing right here. Sales between 6 months to 1 year. It's giving us median and average prices. The only problem is we don't know if it's comparing this to, say, the 2-bedroom versus a 3-bedroom, or this is just all sales. We don't know that. My assumption is it's not, just because I'm seeing an average price of $800,000, and this house I think was listed for around $400,000. So who's to say? Sales between, let's see, sales within the last 6 months, none in Thornton Park. This says Thornton Park all phases, so it's probably a little bit of a wider area. And you can see there, look, volume 1.6 million. So that's between the two sales. So there you go, some basic information. We got location. This is another tab that I would say I don't see on a lot of property appraiser sites. Like right here, it's telling us nearby within a mile. Like how neat is that it's giving us this kind of information? And check this out. So banks and financial barbershops, like let's click on this 10 for barbershops. Look at that. Now, isn't that awesome? It is giving us the name of businesses within a mile of the property we're interested in. So for research purposes, how cool is that? You want to know what grocery stores are going to be close to the house you're looking at buying within a mile? Well, there you go. You know you got access to 2 Publixes within a mile of your property. You also got the Saigon Market. Fuck lock low. And no, I did not just curse at you. So let's close this out. You got your schools listed here. So these should be schools that you would be zoned for. I will tell you, in the state of Florida, I've looked at many property appraiser sites. Orlando, well, I said Orlando, but I meant Orange County. I really like the Orange County site. But I'll tell you, a lot of the bigger cities, their property appraiser sites are all getting to be great resources. And that's why I think it's so important that you learn how to use them. So now that we've gone over these tabs and all the information you can pull off right here, I want to show you quickly what some of the buttons up top here are going to be used for. Previous and next is actually just going to go to the very next parcel ID. So we click that, it takes us to the next, Mills Avenue property. So let's come back over here. We already went over what that print button was. Map can be different. Usually it's going to take us into another map like it's doing right now. And what you can sometimes do, like if we head back over here real quick and I go under quick searches, sometimes they've got, like here's this nearby button. They actually have a map button you can go into and just start doing a general map search. So like we're right here, it's showing us our property right here in the middle. So we can do a search. Sometimes they let you actually just click right on the map. There we go. There's probably another way to get into that a little bit quicker. I'm not going to take the time to figure that out right this second, but what I did was I just clicked on base maps up here on the top left, and you can see there's all these different aerials. But that's all I had to do to get into this screen here where I could zoom in, and now I can just click on one and get information right there and then click right into the parcel ID. It's going to bring us right into that property appraiser record. So that's pretty neat. Maps are super useful. Great if you're trying to hunt for houses. Maybe there's a neighborhood you like and you want to just like quickly see, find the absentee owner really quick. You could just be clicking on this house here, 810 Amelia. Nope, that person, primary address. This person, primary address. This one, primary address. So there's a target neighborhood. Here you go. Absentee owner. Boom. There's somebody I want to send a letter to. All right, next we're going to close out the map. So let's keep going over this. We can do a little street view, bird's eye view. So you got a couple different map options. The main GIS map, though, is going to be the one that lets you view parcel details. Trim, that's related to taxes. Port, calculate your portability. That's not something we need to deal with. Estimate. So here's a tax estimator, which is a great tool when you're buying a property and you can tell it hasn't been sold recently and the value is going to jump for the assessed value and sales price. It's a good idea to see what your potential taxes could be. And speaking of taxes, here is the taxes button right here. So before I click on that, I do have a tab open right up here. Orange County, Florida Tax Collector. This is their tax collector site. Link will be at the bottom. You can see here they got a couple different things you can be doing, like the DMV, pay my property taxes. So you could just click on that and then you can go search for your property. Pay online. When you click on pay online, usually that's going to bring up their search. And here you go. Enter your parcel number and search for it that way. You can pay that. But usually you don't need to go right into that. You can just click on a tax button on most property appraiser sites. It's going to bring us right over to that same site into their record. And here you go. You can see there's the assessed value, that $257, unpaid real estate. So there's nothing unpaid. It's all paid. You could click on the actual tax bill if you want to see what each taxing authority, like the library, the schools, what they each calculated up to, paid, do not pay this bill, that one's already been paid. So you could be using this data to maybe look for people that have unpaid tax bills as well. All right, next to taxes, we have FEMA. So FEMA, flood zone map in Florida. This is important. Sometimes you don't get access to these. You got to go direct to the FEMA website and pull up these yourself. Well, for this one, it's bringing us right over to the FEMA map. So you can see right here, we are not in a flood zone. Flood zones are usually have different colors designated. Like AE is not a good flood zone. That is going to be required flood insurance. Orange is usually like an X500, meaning it hasn't flooded in 500 years. But you can see this property is outside of a flood zone. So that's really important information, folks. That's important if you're in Florida to know that. Plat, you can see it takes us to a lot of different sites. But it's super helpful that they're giving us the link so we don't have to pull up each of these websites, know their web addresses, then figure out how to search the right way. This is a good way to get right into it. Sketch, we already went over the sketch and where you can find that, but you can get to it right away from the top. Share it, favorite it. Pretty self-explanatory, all of those. Now, what I want to show you is the permitting. And when we were down here, I saw a little button that looked like it would take us right over to the permitting site. So under this property features, over here it says view Orlando permits. Most sites don't have this. They might show you some permits that have been pulled, but they don't usually link you to the permit site. So this is nice. So this is going to bring us right over to the permit site. So you can see it brings us right to the city of Orlando, brings us right to the address with a clickable link, and it's going to bring us into the permits for this property. How awesome is that? This is one of the most friendliest sites I have seen for accessing your permit records. Most of the time it is not that simple to get into the permitting sites and search permits. This makes it super simple. And you can see here there's 6 different ones we can click on. Closed, final. So we can just click into one of these. This one even says project name, fence. So we kind of know what that one is. Up here, up at the top though, this is what is important. If you're wanting to get more information, you can view the inspections. You can see there are no inspections of record on this one. It could just be from when it got done. I was curious to see if it would give us some years. So these we can't really tell what they are. They just have the actual street name. So let's click into one of those. And oftentimes your building permits have these little acronyms attached to their permit number, which can, as you get familiar with those permits, can also tell you what type of permit it was. Maybe it was an electrical roof. So here we go. Status, recommend for approval, permit number, HPB, re-roof house with materials similar to existing 28 squares. So we can see that got done in 2010. But if this was a house I was interested in, I would be clicking on every single one of these permits that we were just looking at, just so I could make sure I know everything that's been permitted and done to the house. Just because this one said 2010 doesn't mean she didn't have another roof she had to get put on after that. So it's just good to click through all that, and you can match up this information with what a seller or a realtor is telling you about the house. So let's close this out. What I was going to show you is if we didn't have this permit button. Normally what you're going to need to do is use the street address or the parcel ID number to search. So I'm going to take the parcel number because that's usually the easiest, most accurate. Here is what the City of Orlando permit site would look like if you just typed that into Google and clicked on their link. It's going to bring you to a page that looks like this, where you get a couple different options of things. We would be doing check permit status. We would be clicking on that. It brings us to this search number right here. Most likely we don't have a permit number. If we did, that's a quick way to search. But what we could do is we could come over here to parcel. Usually they don't like all these hyphens in here. We're going to take those out. We're going to just hit search. None were found for that. And no permits were found for that parcel number. Well, that's interesting, right? Let's try it again. Didn't work. Let's try it again. Processing your request. No permits were found with that parcel number. Now, isn't that interesting? Because we know they do exist. And this is one of the nuances of permitting websites. They are, I don't know why, but so many permit sites are so finicky. You just have to figure out the best way to search. We're going to click search. And you can see it says waiting, and here we go. It brought us right into those search results. So isn't that kind of weird how it wasn't able to do it off of the actual parcel number? I think that's weird. That's why never give up. Try a couple different ways. You can always call into these sites as well just to double check that you're not doing something wrong when you know you're looking in the right area. But that's going to wrap it up, folks. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I really appreciate you sticking around, listening to all of this, and I hope you actually got something out of all this review of how to look up a property by address or by owner name. And there's a lot of other neat things you can do on these property appraiser sites too. I recommend you click around and you just see, depending on what your purpose for using the site is. In my own county, I can go print reports of every single property into an Excel file that I can then filter down based on whether it's got a pool, based on the subdivision it's in. So much information, and a lot of these sites will give you big public files like that. You just got to figure it out. Click around. That's how you're going to use the Orange County Property Appraiser site. If you liked this information, if it helped you at all, I'd appreciate you smashing that like button. Hit the subscribe button. Check out my channel. I got some other real estate videos that I think you would enjoy. I got a little personal vlog about me rehabbing houses, as I am a investor here in the South Florida market myself. And I just love showing and sharing how I work and get my business done. And I love providing free resources because I think there is so much free information out there that you can get, and you don't have to go pay for it all the time. You can use sites like this to start out, and I think it's going to get you quite a bit of what it is you're looking for. So again, thank you for watching, and good luck on your searching.